You are now listening to the Vitalize podcast. Hey yo, what up, family? Welcome back to the Vitalize podcast. You're here with your friendly neighborhood host, Mr. Because You Can, also known as Mr. Marcus Black. And I'm so incredibly excited, elated, ecstatic, and all the other fancy words that start with E to let you know that I'm excited to be here with you today, man. Listen. It's about to be up. So, if you just joined for the very first time and you just walked into this space and this place and you have no idea what's happening, there is a rather energetic individual yelling at you, then don't make no mistake. You might need to adjust your volume just a little bit because I'm not turning down. But you can turn me down if you need to. We're having an incredible conversation today. And today's conversation will be about the growth environment. I really want to talk about the growth environment. So just get yourself ready. Because sometimes you look at yourself and the ways you haven't grown and the success you haven't achieved yet, and you start to wonder, what's wrong with me? And I want to tell you, it ain't nothing wrong with you. Oh, snap. It just might be the environment in which you're planted. So that's just to whet your appetite. Stick around, get you some popcorn, whatever you need to do. Just get ready because we're going to have an incredible conversation today. I want to take a moment and just welcome anybody that's here for the very first time. Listen, there's no such thing as a second-time guest in this community. You pull up one time, you family now. And so the Vitalize podcast, we are in season 6. But what is this? The word vitalize means to give life to. So it is a myriad of topics in which I cover that at the end of the day, ultimately want to create life-giving conversations around topics that matter to me and topics that matter to you. So if you want me to cover a topic that matters to you, then you can send me suggestions anytime. You can do that by following my Instagram at mblackspeaks. That's at mblackspeaks. Go ahead and holler at your boy on Instagram. And you can send me topics in my DMs, and I will add them to the list of things we talk about. Nothing is really off limits. I don't do a lot in the political sphere, but I will. But it probably won't be what you think. I did an episode before called America the Beautiful, and in that, the question I posed was, make America great, or when was it ever great? Make America great again, or when was America ever great? And that is kind of two topics depending on what community you're joining from. And I broke that down. And the answer to that question is America was always great. From its inception, it was great, but it also was terrible from its inception. So it's nuance. Things don't have to be either or. It's not black or white. Like America, the concept of America and the history of America is rich. The heritage is rich. There's a lot of beautiful things, you know what I'm saying, that make this place the place that it is for all of us, for you and I today. So that's worth celebrating. The Revolutionary War is worth celebrating. But we can also acknowledge the downsides, the negative sides, the painful sides, the not so pretty part of our history as well that affect many people, millions of people to this very day, and has created disparities among different cultures. And I think we can have that conversation without creating hatred. So I have had that conversation, but I did it in a life-giving way. Not making anyone the villain, not ostracizing anyone, but just bringing people to a table to have a necessary conversation so that we can move the ball forward, grow and go and live and love because we can. That's what I'm here to do. So today, though, we're talking about you. We're not talking, that was one of the more difficult topics I've ever touched on, and even it was life-giving. So everything else is life-giving. That's what the Vitalize community is all about. And if inspiration, motivation, affirmation, all positivity all day is your thing, then I might be for you. But if you prefer negativity, gossip, drama, trauma, all that stuff, if you prefer that, then I might not be for you, and that's okay. But thank you for tapping in. Thank you for joining. The rest of you, man, pull up your seat, man. Pull up a chair. Get your popcorn ready. Let's have an incredible conversation about growth, right? And as I think about this conversation, what I really want to talk to you about is a story that one of my mentors tells. His name is Trent Shelton. Shout out to you. Goated Mr. Trent, the man, the myth, the legend. Trent Shelton is an incredible human being, a brother, a friend, somebody who believed in me before I even believed in myself, saw something in me before I saw something in myself. He is considered one of the greatest thought leaders of a generation. And if you don't know who he is, I have a podcast episode with him where you can learn some things about him. It's a few episodes back, so make sure you go tap in there, go check it out. Feel free if you want to go to the YouTube and watch the video. I do a horrible job promoting YouTube. I'm not going to lie to you. I do a horrible job promoting YouTube, but I'm going to do better because I can and because it matters and because somebody wants that avenue in that arena to be able to see the expression. Because if you didn't know, this is on YouTube. You might be listening on Spotify, Apple, wherever. It's on YouTube too. So you can go watch me. You can see my pretty smiling face. It might not be so pretty, but it's smiling. Like a big old Kool-Aid smile as I continue to share this valuable information, right? So Trent was having this conversation and he does this teaching. And he tells a story about TLC, not the no scrubs TLC. I don't want no scrubs. Scrub isn't. No, not them. We're not talking about that TLC. We're talking about TLC. It's like a nursery for plants. So he goes to the TLC to get some plants. He gets some flowers because he decides, he want to showcase his southern roots and he want to get his green thumb going. So let me get my green thumb going and get myself together. Go get the plants, the flowers, take them home, get down in that ground, dig it up, plant the flowers, water the flowers, make it look all pristine, nice and pretty. Looking at that, take a picture for the gram because if you didn't, it's not real. And now he's like, man, I'm proud of the work that I just achieved. So he goes about his business, goes and lives his very busy, beautiful life. And he comes back and like a day later, his flowers was dead. D-E-D, dead, man. His flowers were dead. It's like, dang, something wrong with them flowers. What's wrong with those flowers? Like, they sold me some bad flowers. I got to go now charge the manager of the TLC. He ain't getting paid enough to deal with me, but I got to go let him know you sold me some bad flowers. So he takes the dead flowers. He goes back to TLC. He says, hey, man, I planted these flowers. I followed the instructions to a T. I did everything they told me to do. Yet the flowers are dead, so I need you to replace my flowers. So they said, okay, sure. So they replace his flowers. He goes back to the drawing board. He says, this time I want to make sure I don't miss a step. I'm following the instructions to a T, takes said flowers, puts them in the ground, covers them up, makes them nice, neat, pretty, get another picture for the gram so you know it's real, and says, okay, we're good. This time it's gonna work. I'm excited. I'm elated. I'm ecstatic. All the other E words just to let you know that he's excited. Ha ha. You see what I did there? Anyway, some of y'all, if you know, you know. If you hang around, I like to say those words. I also like to say facetious, which is my favorite word. But that's another story for another day. So he comes back and he goes about his business. He lives his very beautiful, busy life. And like 2 days later, he's going to check on his beautiful flowers, been watering them and everything. And his flowers were dead. Again. And this time he's like, okay, now I know something is wrong because for the second time in a row, they have sold me bad flowers. Something is wrong with this TLC. I wasn't complaining the first time, but now I'm about to complain because your flowers keep dying. Something is wrong with your flowers. So he takes the flowers back. He brings them to the TLC, said, my man, something wrong with your flowers. I just planted them. I followed the directions to a T. I watered them. I fed them. They had beautiful sunlight and they died again. And the man at TLC's reply was simply this. Well, let me ask you a question, kind sir. What type of soil did you plant your flowers in? Ooh, soil? What you mean soil? I put them in the ground. That's not good enough? He said, that's absolutely not good enough because there are some types of soil that are not conducive to the growth of that type of flower. Somebody is about to get set free today. Because somebody has been looking at themselves as broken. Somebody under the sound of my voice has been looking at yourself as not enough. Somebody has been looking in the mirror and saying, what's wrong with me? I'm not thriving. I'm not flourishing. I'm not growing. I'm not going. I'm not building a life that I love to live. And why is that the case? What's wrong with me? I'm broken. And no, I'm here to tell you, spoiler alert, you're not broken. You just planted in the wrong environment. You're planted in the wrong environment. The environment in which you are planted currently is not conducive to growth. You're not in an environment that inspires you to be better. You're not in an environment that's cultivating the nutrients that you need on the inside to help you become that which you're meant to become. So now that we have established that, dang, so you mean to tell me there's nothing wrong with me? All this time I thought, like, why do people keep leaving me? Why do people keep turning their back on me? Why do people keep stabbing me in the back? Why do I keep getting the short end of the stick? Why me? Why me? Why me? Who is around you? What environment are you planted in? When we're children, we don't have any control over that. You don't have control over what environment you're in when you're a child. You're in whatever environment your parent puts you in. But when you become an adult and you put away childish things, oh, snap, maybe I'm talking to myself today. You have 100% control over what environment you choose to put yourself in. You have control. And you cannot make the excuse about the environment that you're in, because you can always change it. Now, I know that's easier said than done, because some of y'all was like, it takes money and resources to change my environment. You're exactly right. Yes, it does. I'm not going to tell you it doesn't. But if you make it a priority and if you're willing to sacrifice, you can make the change. I remember when I moved to Texas years ago, my dad forbid me to go to Texas. He said, you ain't going to no Texas. Who do you think you are? You lazy. You a bum. You a failure. You ain't nothing. You couldn't even pass a school class. No, I couldn't pass school classes. I passed them because I aced every test, but I didn't do any homework. I didn't apply myself because I was being fed because of my environment was telling me that I was less than, and so I performed as less than. So yeah, you're right. But that's why I'm changing my environment now. He hated that. But you know what I did? I saved up my little dollars. I was working at Walmart. I was making $482 every 2 weeks. Yes, I know exactly what I was making. $7.15 an hour. Sure was. And every 2 weeks after they take my taxes, I'm sitting at $482, and I was stacking that aside. I was stacking that aside. I didn't have a lot, but I had enough to buy me a Ford Taurus, pull up. I had me a plum purple Ford Taurus, Purple Rain. Shout out to you, Purple Rain. You got me a lot of spaces and places. God, you took care of me. Rest in peace, my friend. Her transmission went out. I got another one. She went out again. I said, you just ready. You ready. And now your watch has ended. But I bought me a Ford Taurus, 1996, cash. And then the rest of the money I used to load all of my belongings, which was 2 trash bags full of clothes. I ain't even have no sheets. And I packed my belongings and I moved myself to Texas, outside of my comfort zone. But I moved myself there so that I could be able to grow and put myself in a different environment. You know what happened? The world got a different version of me. That was really the origin of M Black Speaks, because I had to stretch myself. I had to learn how to be a man on my own. I had to learn how to be a leader on my own. I became the president or vice president of 7 on-campus organizations. I'm talking Circle K International. The chorus that in which we sang. I became the president of SGA, Student Government Association. And it all was from me moving to an environment that was conducive to my growth. Was it easy? No. Will it be easy for you? No. Is it easy, especially when you're disconnecting from people? Nope, not at all. One of the hardest things you'll ever have to do. But my mentor, Trent Shelton, also says sometimes you got to add to your life by subtracting from it. Sometimes you got to add to your life by subtracting from it. So what can you add to your life? What value can you add by subtracting some people, places, and things from your life? And that pruning process isn't pretty. It's not always a pretty process of pruning. If you ever seen a flower or plant be pruned, it looks like a mess at first until you clean up the mess, and then you see an environment that's conducive to growth. So ultimately, the purpose of this conversation is to challenge you to position yourself to be in environments that are conducive to your growth, to your trajectory, to you becoming that which you're meant to become. So that's the first question on the table, is what type of environment do you currently exist in? Who are you currently connected to? Do you feel motivated and inspired day in and day out by the environment in which you have positioned yourself, from your job, from your community, from your career, from your home, from your friendships, from your relationship? Let's talk about it. Somebody's right now sitting in a relationship that is killing you on the inside, being demeaned, being gaslit, being diminished, having your light dim, being abused physically and emotionally. Get out. Get out. Because you as a human are beautiful. You as a human are powerful, and you as a human deserve better. You deserve better. I don't deserve it. Maybe I deserve to be mistreated. Maybe I deserve to be treated like I'm less than. Maybe I deserve to be abused. You don't deserve it. Don't make me yell it. You don't deserve that. No human being deserves that. And it's sad that we can be in positions where we can become conditioned to believe that we deserve people to mistreat us. At no point ever do you deserve to be mistreated by another human. You don't deserve it. So if you're in that position, get out before I come and find you. Because your life is short. And to Mel Robbins' point, nobody's coming to save you. So at sometimes you got to be the hero of your own life, which is a chapter in my first book. You got to be the superhero you're looking for. I know you want them to come and save the day. They ain't coming because the hero is you. The hero is in you. And so I want to pull it out of you. And then I want you to put yourself in an environment that's more conducive to growth. So I set up all of that to land the plane with this conversation. Over the last week, I have had the opportunity to do one of the most remarkable things I've ever gotten a chance to do. I had an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., Maryland specifically. And in Maryland, I was there for an official SAMHSA event. Now, SAMHSA is substance abuse, and it's the mental health department of the government. So oh my goodness, it is beautiful what they do on a national level. The specific initiative that I was invited to DC to represent the great state of Oklahoma in said conversation was the Black Youth Suicide Policy Academy. Black Youth Suicide Policy Academy. What we have learned is that suicide rates are skyrocketing all around our country. And that is sad in itself. That's tragic. But what we've also seen is disproportionately those numbers have skyrocketed even more in Black and brown communities. And that's because there's other ills faced. Like, we all face ills. Don't you dare let anybody tell you that everybody doesn't go through problems. Everybody doesn't go through trauma. Everybody doesn't go through pain. Everybody doesn't go through abuse. But then there's added risk factors when you get into said African-American communities. There's risk factors like not only poverty, but there's generational cycles of abuse and thinking, things that are traced all the way back to slavery. There's just a myriad of factors that cause them to be in this bubble and in this environment that creates more of a strain on the mind that causes them to say, you know what? Not being here is better than having to go through this. And that's not true. I want you to know, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, there is always a reason to stay another day. I want you to know that on the other side of every struggle is a beautiful life and a beautiful experience and a beautiful existence that you could not have even fathomed. When I was going through the darkest times of my life and my dark night of the soul, I could not have dreamed that I would be getting to go and do the things that I'm doing today. I could not have dreamed that I would have so many of you listening to the sound of my voice, tapping in, gaining wisdom and knowledge, taking notes and sharing this with me on Instagram. That's the thing y'all can do, by the way. Tag me on Instagram. I'll reshare. I always love seeing the takeaways and seeing you guys support the mission and the work in the podcast. But if you're in that place of struggle, man, don't suffer in silence. Call somebody. You ain't got to tell everybody. I know you don't want people in your business, but I guarantee you there are so many people on this planet who would be utterly devastated if you were no longer here. So if you're in a crisis, stop what you're doing right now. Don't you dare think about doing nothing other than reaching out to 988. Put it in your phone, send a text message, dial the number, press call 988. There are people who care deeply about you who will help you at this exact moment. But I think if we're all honest, I think if you are struggling a bit, and maybe not to that level of struggle, but you find yourself in this place, in this space of Just like, man, sometimes it seems like we just struggle so much. Like, when does struggle end? When does my struggle end? When does it get greater? They say it gets greater later, but when does later come? Because it feels like never. And I want you to know that it's coming. I had a 10-year experience in my life. 10 years I felt like I was wandering through the wilderness. 10 years where I couldn't get right. 10 years of cycles of homelessness and eviction notices and can't pay this bill and can't pay that bill and car repossessions. And from 20 to 30, I was there. It was all bad. And I just felt like, can I catch a break? I don't even want to be rich, fam. I just want to be able to not have people breathing down my neck and to be able to take care of my family and to be able to take care of my bills and just live. That's all I want. I don't want to go and, and that's where so many people are. And that's where I was. But what if I had robbed myself of the future? Now I am a best-selling author. Now I am an internationally acclaimed podcast. I counted the other day, 63 countries we have listeners in for this show. What if I'm an award-winning motivational speaker? I am an astute, esteemed member of my community. I am called upon to do and talk and speak and pour life into businesses, schools, communities. And ultimately, I am my children's hero. I am my wife's best friend. I am her hero. She is my hero. She's my shero. We are best friends. And I get to live my dream every single day of my life, which none of that would have been possible had I made choices years ago and robbed myself of that future. Don't rob yourself of the joy that you are going to experience on the other side of your pain, because the mountains that you are currently climbing that are tiring you out, that make you want to quit, that feel like it's blocking you from where you want to be, was not put in your life, in your space, to be a barrier from your greatness. That mountain was given to you only to take you higher. If only you're willing to climb. Keep climbing, because you can keep climbing. So back to this space. I'm here with SAMHSA and the Black Youth Suicide Policy Academy. And it's very rare that I go into a room where I feel intimidated. I felt intimidated in this room because so many of these beautiful faces and wonderful people had more letters beside their name than the alphabet. I'm talking PhD, MED, LMFT, like MSW, all these letters. Y'all like, I have no idea what none of that means. But PhD, that's a doctor. There's a lot of doctors in the building. Educational doctors. There's a lot of just incredibly astute intellectuals coming together to fight for the lives of a future generation of youth. And it wasn't that I felt so much not enough. I felt like I wanted to make them proud. If I had an opportunity to share my heart and who I am and what I do, and I know I'm competent and I know I'm confident, which are the two tracks in which any train to success rides upon, confidence and competence. That's a story for another day. I knew that I could say something to encourage the hearts and the lives of the leaders who are in the place and in the space. And eventually I had an opportunity to do that and built so many beautiful connections because of it. But when I tell you my heart is overwhelmed, my heart is filled with more hope than maybe it ever has been. Because a lot of times I'm just going to have a transparent moment with you guys listening to me. I know this is one of the most diverse communities. I see it. The demographics, even the socioeconomic demographics, the race demographics of this podcast are all over the spectrum. And I love every single one of y'all. And I'm glad all of you are here. And every single one of us has a unique lived experience in this life. But I have a unique lived experience too as an African-American male. And a lot of times what I see on television is my culture being denigrated, is I see the worst parts of my culture being celebrated, the guns and the hip hop music and the chains and the rap and the calling women out of their name and the derogatory. I see that every day glorified. I see record labels making millions off of the culture and the community. And I'm like, but that is not the whole of a community. That's why so many people who aren't familiar, who aren't in diverse situations and populations feel the way that they feel about African Americans in this country. And so to be in a room full of so many Black intellects and scholars and kind-hearted leaders, it literally brought tears to my eyes because it was such a beautiful scene to see excellence celebrated, to see excellence personified, to see And I was honored to be a part of that. And my heart is glad, my soul is refreshed. And what it taught me was not only did we go and take back action plans to implement to decrease that disparity in those numbers and to ultimately, hopefully, eradicate suicide, period. I don't care what color you are. Let's get rid of that. Let's take that as an option off the table because life is always worth living. So not only that, but also it just gave me hope because there was a young group of people there as well. And these young leaders were so intelligent. They were so emotionally intelligent. They were so articulate to be able to share their experience in order to help us, decision makers, policy makers, leaders in various communities in various states around the country, create initiatives and plans and programs that are effective at ultimately going and achieving a goal. And what I realized was that I was in a growth environment. I was in the ultimate growth environment. They made me want to be better. Every person I met made me want to be better. Every person I met made me want to sharpen my tools even more. Every person I met made me want to go and serve greater. Every person I met made an impact on my mind and on my heart. They did. And hopefully I can say the same for them. If some of y'all are here and you're joining, you just tapped into the podcast, welcome family. You ain't know I was going to be talking about y'all. But hopefully you all left as energized and enthused as I did. And I want you to know that I gained a lot more heroes. Not the kind that parade around in capes and tights, though. I'm talking real life heroes doing real life work, saving real lives every single day of their life. And I could not be more grateful to have been a part. And sometimes as people, we can feel like, man, something is off. I just don't feel so good, man. I don't feel like I'm as effective as I could be. And that's because of the environment in which you're in. So if you're listening to the last part of this as I land the plane, shout out to my man, Brandon, the incredible leader from SAMHSA of the Black Youth Suicide Policy Academy, bro. I can't wait to see it go even further, do even greater in the future. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part. If you guys are listening to the sound of my voice, ultimately what I'm saying to you is you got passions, you got gifts, you got dreams, you have inspirations, you have aspirations, you have things that you want to achieve and accomplish in this life, but there are barriers. And sometimes the barrier is yourself. It's your own mind. It is the environment you have created in your own mind, and you need a new environment of people to shake you out of that, to inspire you, to encourage you, to build you up and to edify you. So get yourself some people. Get a community because it's necessary. But maybe it's not yourself. Maybe it's the actual physical community you're in that is belittling you, that is demeaning you, that does not honor you, that does not appreciate you, that does not celebrate you, that is not valuing you and your time and what you bring to the table. And if you are in that space and that place and you're wondering why you're being stagnant and why you feel off, why you feel drained every single day, let me spoil it for you. Because you're in bad soil. You got to go get in some good soil that is conducive for growth, that is conducive for you becoming, that is conducive for you going and building the life that you love to live. So stop looking at yourself in the mirror thinking, what's wrong with me? Why am I the problem? Why am I not growing? Why do people not see the best in me? Why are people stabbing me in the back? Why do they not think I'm good enough? It's not because something is wrong with you. It's because you're around the wrong people. I said what I said, fam. So now you got to get yourself around the right people and get yourself in the right environments so that you can go and you can thrive and you can flourish and you can shine bright as the star that you were created to be. And then I want you to take a nice picture and put it on the gram so you know it's real, so that you can go and grow and build a life that you love to live and create a legacy and an impact that outlives you, ultimately going and making a difference in this world because you can.